Today's Elko Live is an Encore edition. We'll be visiting with South Fork State Recreation Area Manager Robert Massetti about what's to come this season at one of the area's most popular recreation destinations. Thank you for listening to Elko Live today.
This is always a good time of the year to actually get ready for the season because we're so used to the cold weather, the winter, and not seeing a lot of people at the park, a lot of cloudy days. And so it's kind of nice to see the sun and start seeing the wildlife come back into the park and seeing some of the people come back and start enjoying themselves at the park as well.
Oh, that's perfect. So with that, let's talk about, we can talk about some new things coming to South Fork State Recreation Area, first of all, because that's really the emphasis of the program today. And these changes will begin as early as late summer, right?
Yes, we're thinking August, maybe September, but a reservation system will be coming to the park, and that will actually change the way that we do business out there, which is the reason why I think a discussion like this is so important to get the word out ahead of time so people can know what's coming and what they can expect.
Because the way it is now, you can literally hitch up your boat or throw the camping gear in, put the kids in the back seat, buckled up, and the dog, and go out and camp at South Fork State Park. But come late this summer, as you said, you will need to have a reservation in advance to camp or to recreate, correct?
That is correct. And right now it's first come, first serve, and it's been that way since the park has opened up. So there's going to be a lot of people that are just used to of the old way of doing business. So it's really important for us to get with the community and do what we can to help promote the message of the new change that's coming to it. So people aren't confused, and when they get there, they know what to expect.
Well, Robert, this isn't really an entirely new thing. It is new to state parks in Nevada, but we were talking a little bit before we went on the air, and actually we're among the last states in the country to go to a reservation system for state parks.
We are, yes. I'm not sure why that is, but Nevada is the last, state parks in Nevada is the last states to actually have a reservation system. We get a lot of phone calls at the park, during all throughout the course of the year, and people are kind of surprised that because they're coming from out of town and a few states away, that they're a little nervous that when they come out they may not have a spot, and they're kind of left to wonder why we don't have a reservation system yet. But now that it's coming, we're hoping that we hope that it becomes a good thing for the parks and for the public and the community. So people are no longer racing to get out there and dropping a trailer for a spot, or knowing that when people come in, if they have a reservation, that they'll be able to have the spot when they get there.
Now we know the Forest Service does reservations because some of their sites are so popular. For example, Lamoille Canyon. So
yeah, they have it, and how they got ahead of us, I don't know, but it's probably been some time coming that we were eventually due to get the system, so we got it. And so I'm just hopeful with this discussion today that it helps get the word out that it's no longer going to be a first come, first serve starting in August.
All right, so that is right around the corner for people planning their vacations. Now, since the reservations don't start then, when can people start making reservations, though, Robert?
That's a good question. I would say that have them contact the park, because we don't even have a number yet. State Parks is still kind of putting everything together for the company, and so there's no number right now that we can give them. I would hope by June at least, we would have something to give the public. Right now, we just don't.
So if someone is planning a family reunion or a big camping event, some sort of get together out at South Fork, they can feel safe proceeding with that until, sometime after August, would you guess? Or do you think that reservation system might kick in sooner?
I don't think it's going to go in sooner than August. I think that's the earliest is going to go into effect. If there's a group of 6 or more people and they need to come out to the park and they want to get a site, we do have sites 125 in Tamara Cove, that are reservable, and they're for the purposes of bigger sites, because the typical site isn't really designed to, hold a lot of people. So to get those big groups of 6 or more, give us a call at 775-744-4346 and see about availability for any dates that you might have or they might have. And so we'll see what we can do for them.
All right, Robert, that sounds certainly doable. And is it still going to be $5 admission, or is that going to change?
The fees won't change, but there will be fees in terms of making reservations. From what I understand right now, it's going to be $5 per reservation. So it will cost something. It won't cost a lot, but it's obviously the more reservations you make, the more it's going to cost. And so we'll have to, but as far as the actual fees go in itself, the camping, the boating, and a lot of that might be paid. It's probably going to be paid through the reservation system. So, which will make fee collection for us a whole lot easier. And so instead of collecting for the majority of the park, now we can just kind of focus in on who came in for the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Talking with Robert Masidi, who is South Fork State Recreation Area Park Supervisor. You have a credit card machine right there at the entrance, and so people typically use that.
Yes, we have them at both entrances, both the main entrance and the Southwest Shores. It is solar powered, and we check it every day to make sure it's operational. So, and every day it seems to work no matter what. So, it's actually helped with our revenue collection because people just would rather. So a lot of people just would rather not get out of their vehicle. They just want to put the card in the machine, get their ticket, and just go.
Swipe and go. Yeah, that's kind of the way our society has evolved, isn't it? Or some would say. So you're going to still use that. Oh, and this is a really good point, and I'm sure it's an obvious question, but these changes, reservations required after August this summer, are for overnight camping, right? I mean, you don't have to reserve for day use.
No, correct. It's for camping. When people come in for the day, I would recommend that they probably even check the site check for availability before they even come out. That would be the easiest thing, because the last thing you'd want to do is, load up the car, load up the family, and then you come out there and then you don't have a spot to go because everything's already taken.
I see. So people might be camping at any of those 25 developed sites.
Yes, and just because a site is open and nobody's in there, it doesn't mean it's not reserved. If the site is reserved, even though they're not have shown up yet, we have to keep that site open in case they do show up, because the check-in time is going to be at 2 p.m. and the checkout time is going to be 11 a.m. So in between that time frame, we have to be able to clean sites. So we're going to have to really enforce the checkout time pretty strict, because if people are coming in, they're going to expect their site clean. And so it's just another part of the equation where it can be really good for the park. And so we're hopeful that it kind of goes that way.
Yes, Robert. And obviously keeping that important revenue coming in, because the money goes back into making park improvements, which I know we can talk about that in this half an hour as well. It is important too, as we're talking about first ever reservation fees for South Fork State Recreation Area, that there will be some penalty. I guess you may not get your money back if you have to cancel or you simply don't show up, right? Because as you said, you have to hold the spot.
We have to hold the spot. So if someone just doesn't show up, they're not going to get their money back. If we find that there are some people who are just abusing the system, like making all these reservations ahead of time and they're not coming in, that could also lead to suspension of their reservation privileges. So we're hoping people don't do that. We just hope that if you make the reservation, that you're going to be there and not just change your mind at the last minute. But if things come up, give the park a call. We don't know if somebody wants to call in and there's a family emergency. I'm not sure if there will be an exception or not to get your money back, but it'd be worth asking. But right now, if people just don't show up, they're not getting their money back.
Right. And then it's also the right thing to do, because if you can call and say, hey, this thing came up, or we're not able to travel right now, or we're behind in our schedule, for example, if you're summer vacationing, that way it frees up the site for another family to use it too. So
It would, and especially during the holidays where space is it can be hard to come by because we do fill up pretty fast.
we're talking with Robert Masidi from South Fork State Recreation Area, and something new, a reservation system that is going to happen beginning this fall, probably late summer. You'll start to see some signs go up, and obviously Robert's making the rounds, hoping to educate people in the community so that we can remind all of our recreating friends and family members that this is a new system in place. I know you wanted to talk about vehicle maximum occupancies.
Yes, that will change as well. We're trying to get away from these big party campsites. The problem is at nighttime, from a law enforcement aspect, those are very tricky to do. And then typically the bigger sites also tend to be your bigger problems at night. And we have to be good neighbors with our neighbors, and so we need to keep the park down as quiet as possible, so everybody can kind of get along. But yeah, there'll be vehicle occupancy limits when it goes into effect. Right now it's going to be 2 vehicles per campsite in the east campground, and that's all you can really get in there anyways, is 2 vehicles because there's bollards there. On the southwest side, we're looking at a 4 vehicle maximum occupancy, just to make sure we all have enough space out there, and there's not any problems that can lead to bigger problems at night.
Right, because that is a popular place, as you mentioned, for people to get together. And yeah, and so all these changes really, if you can just imagine when South Fork State Park was built and the reservoir site was actually created. It's a man-made reservoir in 1983. Think about how much we've grown and changed and how popular the site is now.
Yeah, I know now it's a point where you have power sites, you have credit card machines out there that are on solar panels. You got just all these other types of improvements that were made through the years, and there are things that they surely didn't have when we first started.
And we'll talk about some of the other changes and improvements that certainly these fees to help generate. We are talking with Robert Masidi from South Fork, and I think we got to most of those. Oh, did you want to talk about the Coyote Cove springtime improvements? I guess that's what we're on now, unless anything we missed.
Yes, in the springtime, we actually do plan to make Coyote Cove, make those campsites a lot more defined and distinguished, like we do at Jet Ski Beach. We did that a couple years ago, and we actually had a positive input on that. We actually put bollards up at the halfway point and put a sign on there that said, like, campsite 42 to the left and 41 to the right, which actually helped define. I guess it worked out really well, and so we're going to do that again for Coyote Cove, so people know where their site begins and where it ends.
So that's something simple that will help to maybe alleviate, as you said, some of the confusion or even congestion, getting those more defined campsites. We did want to mention, too, that even with the discussion of having to make a reservation for overnight camping, you can still purchase your 2023 permit, right? Those are out soon?
Yeah, we have them at the park. And so I would just recommend, before you come out, to give us a call. That way we know we're going to be there. We get a lot of frustration from customers who come out and we're not there, and I'm the only person working there right now, so it's kind of hard to be every place at once. So wherever I'm at, that means something else isn't getting done or available to get done. So call out ahead of time so we can make an appointment. So I'll be there when you get here, so you're not just wasting a trip for nothing.
And what does your permit entail? What do you get with that 2023 permit?
It depends which permit you buy. If you buy the all-access permit, that covers your entrance fees, your boating fees, and your camping fees for the year. If you get a day-use permit, that just covers your entrance fees. If you have a senior permit, that will cover your entrance, your boating, and your camping, as well as the disabled veteran permit. So if you plan to come out a lot, it's worth having the permit. as opposed to paying every time with the envelope. But if you're just planning on coming out a few times a year, then I would just recommend just paying as you come in.
Okay. What is the cost of the permit? Do you recall?
Yeah, the all-access permit that covers the boating, the entrance, the camping. The first one is $250, and the second one, if you buy within 30 days, is $125, because you'll have a case where the husband pulls the trailer and then the wife pulls the boat. So you each need a permit when you come in, and so people buy the second one out of convenience. The day use permit for just the day use entry, that's $100 for the year. And then the senior permit is in the disabled veteran permit, they're each $30.
Oh, good. So that sounds like it's doable. And as you said, if someone's pulling a boat, they're used to paying fees, whether it's gassing up or groceries or paying off the boat, right? So
exactly. They're worth it if you come out a lot.
Yeah, definitely. South Fork State Recreation Area is super popular, again, with any number of amenities, of which we're going to talk more about with Robert Masidi. We wanted to make sure we go over all those changes, though, that are coming. There's one more change, and this is a change, is it in Nevada law, or that's NAC? That has to do with bringing in some, I guess, amenities or some recreation things that people have done in the past.
Yeah, it's a park rule. It's for all the Nevada state parks, not just for South Fork, but any park that has a water park, this would apply to. It's just basically, this says an inflatable floating trampoline or other trampoline, a stationary floating platform like a dock, a dunk tank, a climbing wall, or a bounce house can't be brought into the park anymore. So just in recent years, we've seen the stationary floating platforms like docks, and I get that we have no place really to put the boat, but and I've seen the trampoline there for a couple times in past years, and I think those are going to be the two big ones that apply to the park, because I haven't seen the other ones. But the agency doesn't want those in the park. They don't feel it's recreational, even though I think with the trampoline, we don't want to seem like we allow something where people could get injured. And so in terms of the floating platform, I just think it's a case where they don't see that as recreational equipment. It's just, something that is there to help them get to the shoreline to their boat easier. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But so we just can't have them in the park anymore.
Okay. But you can still take things like, obviously, kayaks and canoes, your floats, if you're going out fishing, that kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, all that's, welcomed and encouraged if that's what people want to do. We just have to just make sure that we don't get the other things that used to come in that is no longer allowed in the park.
Yeah, you could kind of see how a bounce house literally might get away from you with the kind of winds that we have. I mean, it's just not always conducive to inflatables, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, it's like, it just seems like go like clockwork. Anything after 12 p.m. on a Sunday or a Saturday or even a Friday, it just seems like, or any day of the week, that's when the weather seems like it wants to turn. And when that weather turns, it will turn on a dime on people, and they just won't even see it coming. And, we've had to get a few people off the water last year because they got caught. They were even close to the shoreline when it happened, and the winds just took them out to the middle of the reservoir. And fortunately, they had life jackets on, but the problem's going to come into play where they don't know how to swim and they don't have any life jackets. But that weather, it just turns on a dime, and sometimes without any warning.
Robert, I'm glad you brought that up. That safety was on my list, and it's so sad. We have had some drownings at South Fork, and as you mentioned, it's typically a mistake. Someone has gone out on a floaty or an inflatable, some sort of a pool toy normally, or even a kayak, but not having a life jacket, and then a wind event comes up, and sadly they have drowned.
And what people, I think, lose sight of the fact is with South Fork, it's not like a Lake Tahoe where the water's clear. You can see all the way down to the bottom. It's not like you're looking into a bathtub and you can see the bottom. It gets to be zero visibility real quick. So once somebody goes under and they're struggling and they start to panic and then they drown, then they're starting to drown, and their friend may not be able to find them, and they might be right next to them, and because you can't see them, it's like dirty water that you have no visibility in.
Right. So keep that in mind. As always, the wardens are there, I guess, with Nevada Department of Wildlife. You're there to help police and keep things safe and to help people, remind them of the rules. But there simply aren't enough people to sort of safeguard and make sure people are wearing life jackets.
Yes, we do the best we can, but you're right. There's just too many people out there, and by the time you actually see them, they could be already out in the water so far out, and a lot of times they don't even see us when we try to wave them in. So it's we just hope that this is where we need friends and parents just to be vigilant and make sure that if their son or daughter or their next door neighbor is actually out there, that they have a life jacket on, especially if they can't even swim.
All right. Robert Masidi is South Fork State Park Supervisor, and we're talking about some changes out at South Fork later this summer, which we'll remind everyone of at the end of the program, just to kind of get the point across. But we're also talking about, the safety aspects of the park. It's super popular. So we have different kinds of boating. Like, are people still ice fishing, Robert, or is the ice coming off now?
No, we're actually... Our ice is as good as it's ever been. Right now, it's about almost about a foot thick in most places where you go, and that's kind of been surprising because when the ice forms, it won't form the same all the way across the reservoir. So one area might be 6 inches deep, and then the next area might be 4 inches deep. But right now, it seems like on the southwest side, where there's Coyote Cove and Jet Ski Beach, and over by the main boat ramp, everything seems to be about 12 inches from what I'm gathering from the ice fishermen. So it's really been a very positive ice year this year. So we're happy about that.
Oh, that is good. And if you have any questions, obviously, NDOW is eager to help educate the public about ice fishing safety. A lot of people come here from somewhere else and they don't realize that you can only have a 10-inch diameter hole. So, Yep, that's an important rule. And then they're fishing for all kinds of things, right?
Right. They're all fishing. Most people will probably catch the trout. That's what I'm seeing people catch even this time of year. So just please, when you guys go out there, just make sure that you have your fishing licenses, because NDOW's going to, they'll show up and they might want to ask to see it. I might want to ask to see it. But so just please bring that when you come out.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of fun. The whole family can enjoy that. It's a wonderful sport. I don't know if any listeners, I'm sure there are lots of listeners that actually made it to the Sportsman's Expo this weekend. So that was a great opportunity to find out more about, what kind of fishing and hunting and wildlife watching and activities. But you could catch largemouth and smallmouth bass, channel catfish, brown trout, rainbow trout, bowcut trout, and wipers, I guess, at South Fork.
The main trout right now is the rainbow trout. The brown and the bowcut, I think those were in years past when it was stocked. It's not really stocked much more with that. So it's going to be the rainbow trout and the wipers and the bass and the catfish.
All right, but it's super popular. So when the water opens up, Robert, then you're going to have boats back out there, right? Yeah,
we will. They should probably be on property. We're hoping mid-April to late April, and they'll be checking boats, and they're just checking to make sure that you don't have any invasive species on your boat. Probably this time of year right now, when people first come out, they probably didn't survive through the winter, so they'll probably be okay, but just please stop. It is the law. Once they're established and set up for the day, it is the law that they do have to stop. And I imagine the first month or so while people are coming out, the inspections are typically quick, but I could imagine it being even quicker when they first set out, just because the boat's been in the garage and it's been -0 a lot of the day, so nothing's really survived. So I think they'll be fine. But yeah, it's and they typically stay on until about mid to late October. So just remember, if they're not there, then people don't have to stop, and so they can just go right through. But they'll have signs set up that saying with the inspection arrow directing people where to turn in. So there's really not. If someone just bypasses it, they probably just spaced it, but it's pretty well established. Yep,
they're looking for the quagga mussels. Those are invasive species. And how's the road? Is the road in good shape right now?
It's with the warmer weather, the snow melting, the gravel areas are starting to take on a little bit more ruts in the road, the divots. So, but we're looking to actually, when everything dries out, we're looking to redo the roads. So, but right now they're not bad.
Oh, that's good.
Any car could come on them and get to where they want to go. But I guess if you don't have 4-wheel drive, and you come out on a nice day, 45-degree weather with everything melting, everything all nice and watery on the roads, and there could be some moments where maybe a car might not make it. Just depends.
All right. Could get muddy and slushy just like everywhere else. So you are going to make some repairs to the boat dock this year. That's the plan?
We are, yes. Actually, I just bought some parts that we could put on the boat dock, and we're going to do it here as soon as the weather starts to warm up. And so we know every couple of years typically is when we have to do repairs to our boat dock, because the dock does get a lot of visitation, a lot of usage, and there's just some people that come in a little bit too hard, and it just one hard hit after another, and then things start to just deteriorate, start to rip, and then all of a sudden you got to do a whole lot of replacement of things. So we are looking to do some repairs to it, and then hopefully once all the ice comes off and the dock goes back in the water, it should be good to go for the public to use.
And I was going to mention, too, I should have done this when we were talking about admission to the park, but you can go to your nearest Nevada library, including the Elko County Library, and check out some park passes. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yes, I think it's designed for fifth graders. But yeah, the Elko Library has 2 free passes that people can come and check out. I'm not sure how long they can have them for, if it's a day or if it's a couple days, but they're available there. There's only 2 of them, so there's not a lot. I mean, we have obviously a lot more students that we do passes, but at least it's just another way to get people out to the park that otherwise may not come. So we're kind of hoping that people do take advantage of that service so they can come out and enjoy what we have.
Well, speaking of enjoying, Robert, we know that you are famous for collaborating to host several events and activities throughout the year, and they have all been wonderful success. I think more recently you teamed up with California Trail Interpretive Center, Nevada Outdoor School, and had Mr. Nick LaPalme come out and do a humanities tour, arts and humanities and literature interpretive tour of the South Fork State Park. That's cool.
Yeah, he came out and he was able to give some people a good presentation about the park. So it's, anytime we get that community interaction, that's a great thing, because, we want as many people to come out as they can. And so, and sometimes it's always good to hear something from someone else's perspective. So, I'm in the park 24 hours, 7 days a week, and for the last 10 years. And so, but, that doesn't mean I know everything about the park. And so if some other people come out and they, like him or Jan comes out and they want to talk about the park, about the earlier days, and then people can really start getting another perspective from other people about, who we are and how far we've come.
Yeah, certainly. From being ranching territory in 1983, I guess when the reservoir was actually flooded or constructed, built at that time. It's about a 1,600-acre reservoir, and it's surrounded by 2,000 acres of park land that's marsh and meadow, basically. And you host lots of wildlife, right?
I just saw a porcupine today go across the road, but we have the porcupine, we have bobcats, we have deer, and so we have all sorts of birds. Of course, the beavers out there too that like to dam things up out there, so they're quite the engineers. And so
where did they get the trees?
They're finding them from someplace. It's sticks. It's actually by the inlet right now, and so they're kind of when they build something, it's pretty hard just to take down. And so but they're out there. They are, and they've actually caught some big ones in there. So, but just another part of the wildlife that people get to see.
And that's where the phrase busy as a beaver comes from. Yeah, definitely, Robert. I mean, when you describe that, it sounds like a children's book in the making. So the park ranger versus the beaver who are damming things up again. Well, that's fun. So you can enjoy all those different kinds of wildlife. You can go fishing. There are plenty of trails. Bicycles, bikes are welcome. Mountain bikes?
The mountain bikes, yes. The motorized bikes, yeah, you can ride them, but please don't ride them on the trails because people may be walking, and then if they have pets on there, the pets may get spooked. So but bicycles, just road bikes. Anything you want to pedal, it's taking them on our trails, and you get to see a different part of the park that you may not have seen before. So, and you have to worry about other cars while you're on the roadway. So,
dogs. I mean, you just mentioned pets. Should pets be leashed?
Yes, they should be leashed. If there's nobody around, we're okay as long as they don't run just anywhere. If they can stay close to their owner, that is okay.
You might have other events coming up. Friends of the Ruby Mountains sometimes host things. So NDOW, Nevada Outdoor School, California Trail Interpretive Center. If you have an event or an idea, you can give Robert Masidi, the South Fork State Recreation Park Supervisor, a call, 775-744-4346. Always a good idea to call the office before you head out just to make sure you're there. You are bringing on some employees again here in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'll have one coming on here March 20th, which will help me out. My ranger right now, he's a post, and he'll be back in May. So we're looking forward to get him back. Another seasonal starting April 3rd, and then another one a week after that. So it's a process. It's not something that just happens all on the same day where everybody shows up and says, okay, here we are for the season. So you kind of got to bring them on as you can get them and as the budget allows.
Well, we're glad that you're able to assemble some good folks who care about the park as much as you do, having been there for 10 years, Robert. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Makes a huge difference.
Well, it's always been a goal of mine when I came up here to make sure that the park and the community always had a good relationship. The park really does belong to the people. We're just not out here for the state and for ourselves. We're out here for the community and for our visitors. So, and I think the more we can keep those positive relationships going, I think the better off that everybody's going to be.
We hope you enjoyed today's Elko Live Encore program about spring and summer offerings at South Fork State Recreation Area. Robert Masidi is the park manager. I'm your host, Lori Gilbert. Thanks for joining us for Elko Live each weekday here on KELK.